Hey everyone, it's LS, and that's Cloudy, and before anyone asks, I'm wearing a mask simply just because I like to keep my face warm. Anyways, we're going to jump right into it. We got a lot of preseason changes to talk about, so let's just go right in. Divine Crowngaurd, this is one of the new items, and it was mentioned, I believe, in the Riot rundown thingy. So, 60 ability power, 250 health, 600 mana, 20 ability haste, and the active, or, well, triggered ability. You are safeguarded, reducing incoming damage by 50%. Safeguard persists for 1.5 seconds after taking damage. While safeguarded, gain 10 to 30 ability power by level. And then you regain safeguard if you haven't taken damage for champion damage for 40 seconds. Mythic passive, 1% MS and 50 health. So, the Mythic passive is kind of a joke. Once you get 4 legendaries or something, you get magical boots, essentially. The 50 health, again, you're getting like a ruby crystal of sorts. This is not the most impactful passive, but it will mean that this item does give you quite a bit of HP. The safeguard, so I assume that this is the anti-assassin mage mythic that Riot talked about. Remember they said this was going to be used on mages that were artillery mages or long range. No, it's not. Well, I mean, it might, depending on team compositions. But for the most part, this screams Diana. This is a hard engage AP item that allows certain mages, like Diana, or a Mumu, or something, well, I guess probably not a Mumu, but you get the drift of where I'm going with this, to engage and then get essentially like an old Aftershock. That's actually what's going on here. If anyone remembers the old Aftershock that made Vi meta and made an abundance of other champions meta because they would hard engage and you can't immediately hit them. Because of that window and because of the fact that now they get a steroid of ability power, this is kind of bonkers. And it makes the champion tanky. This is just a lot of tools in one thing, and I feel like Divine Crowngaurd is not likely going to be used for what Riot was intending for, but rather to amplify AP bruisers to hard engage into opponents and then not take any damage back. So, I don't know. I mean, that's the first one. Next up, we got Lunari Vestements, 200 health, 20 ability haste, 30 armor, 30 magic resist, repentance. After immobilizing a champion or being immobilized, cause that target and all nearby enemies to repent, increasing the damage they take by 12% for 5 seconds. So, no, it says after immobilizing a champion or being immobilized. So even the person who's CCing you suddenly makes themselves vulnerable. Mythic passive grants all their legendary items 5 armor and 5 magic resist. So this is the offensive item for Leona or something down in the support role, that if you get this and you get Abyssal Mask, not only are you going to be really tanky, you are steroiding all of the damage that goes to the target that you are CCing. And that is pretty nuts. So CC support, CC champions that want to itemize this as like utility things, even inside of the jungle, this is actually going to be a really nice mythic for that player to do. Now, the thing is that 12% is an interesting number. So again, Abyssal Mask, it is something that you do have to consider. The fact that it applies to all nearby enemies is really good, though. So that one is, I mean, that's good. Okay, Frostfire Gauntlet. Let's move on. 350 L, 25 armor, 25 magic resist, 20 ability haste. Immolate. Taking or dealing damage causes you to begin dealing 12 plus 1%. I'm assuming max hit. 12 plus 1% of your max health, I assume. Bonus magic damage per second to nearby enemies increased by 25% against minions and 150% against jungle monsters for 3 seconds. Okay. Snowbind. Attacks create a frost field for 1.5 seconds and deal magic damage to all enemies in the area. Enemies that move across the field are slowed. Mythic passive. Grant all their legendary items 100 health and 6% size. So, is this just Ezreal's item again? Is blue Ezreal coming back? Is that what I'm getting at here? Because, yeah, sure, it doesn't have any offensive. I mean, it's dealing 12 plus 1% of your bonus health, right? But if Ezreal can just start building health items, then maybe this is a legitimate thing for him to end up doing. So that is going to be interesting. If this isn't the case, and your attacks are, all of your autos are just dealing slows or something like that, then obviously chain users that want to just stay on top of you, maybe something like, Tank Jax or something, and he's just perma-slowing you, could end up becoming viable or something. Maybe Warwick now permanently sticks on you, or things like that. So I do think this is better than the previous version, which it had a wind up to it, and then you would hit the slow or something. Obviously, I never really liked that. I wasn't a big fan of it. Mostly you built it just because of the ability haste, and then the passive that gave you increased size as well as health. That was actually the real win of the passive. Now, you take a look at a passive like this, 100 health, 6% size, and then you take a look at a passive like this one, 1% movement speed, 50 health. I understand that it's on different champions, but obviously, I mean, there is a difference between these. So, okay. Turbo Chemtank, 350 health, 25 armor, 25 MR, 20 ability haste, active, supercharged, grants 40% movement speed towards enemies or enemy turrets for 4 seconds. Once near an enemy or after 4 seconds, a shockwave is emitted that slows champions. Okay, this is fine. Refuel. Moving and dealing damage charges up attacks, stacks of Contagion. At 100 attacks of Contagion, your next basic attack deals magic damage to all nearby enemies, increased by 25% against minions, 175. This sucks. What? Moving and dealing damage charges up Contagion. What is going on? Your next basic attack deals magic. It doesn't say how much magic damage. If this is a lot of magic damage, this is fine. If this is not a lot of magic damage, I can't see people wanting to go this item when Predator just exists as an item, because generally the champions that would be wanting to go Turbo Chemtank are probably just Predator users anyway. So it is going to be kind of weird unless like tanks end up getting buffed. So that one just seems weird. Okay. Winter's Approach. So this is one of the new tier items. So they've introduced another tier item that is no longer just Seraph's Embrace, nor is it Mirror Mana. So 400 health, 500 mana, 15 ability haste. Gain bonus health equal to 8% mana. You're going to be a big boy. Now remember, one of the items that we already went over earlier with mana and health and all that other good stuff. Mana charge, strike a target with an ability or an attack to consume a charge and gain 3 bonus mana if doubled if the target is a champion. Grants a maximum of 360 mana, at which point this item transforms into Fimbulwinter. Okay, so Fimbulwinter is 400 health, 860 mana, 15 ability haste, and then gain bonus health equal to 8% mana, okay? And now it gets a passive called Everlasting. Immobilizing or slowing, melee only, an enemy champion consumes 3% of current mana and grants a shield for 3 seconds, absorbing damage. This shield is increased by 80% if more than one enemy is nearby. This is a really interesting... So, I wonder if this somehow goes on Sejuani or something like that, immobilizing and slowing. Any of the melees are going to be really, really creepy with this. Obviously, slowing is melee only, so this prevents Ezreal from using it or Victor from using it and just being really, really, really gross. But there's definitely going to be a lot of champions that you can look at that it's going to make their mana... I mean, this is a Blitzcrank item, right? Immobilizing or slowing. So Blitzcrank even is going to probably have a lot of fun with this every time he's going to use his E or use his Q or something. There's so much to unpack here with this item that it is interesting, but I do like the diversity. So far, one of the things that I will say is that all of the items that Riot has been changing, modifying, and putting out so far, it is interesting because they all are so far niche. Obviously, except for the initial mythic that I mentioned that I think is just going to make AP Bruisers a lot better. Okay, Catalytic Khopesh, I think I said that right. 55 attack damage, 10 lethality, 25 ability haste, refresh. Whenever a champion dies within 3 seconds of having a damage to them, refund 25% of your ultimate's cooldown. So if you kill 4 champions, you get your ultimate back for free for the pentakill. So it seems kind of gimmicky, but in jungle, this will be a very snowball-y item for gankers. So this is kind of interesting. So if you're a Kiana jungle or something like that, this item's probably viable. If you're Kha'Zix or something, maybe this item becomes viable. I mean, there's a lot of assassin junglers or AD jungle champions that can really utilize this item to keep doing their chain ganks. So I actually really like this item. Again, another very cool item, although it is probably much more solo queuey than anything else. Ravenous Shadowflame, like the name. 80 ability power, 250 health. Damage to champions benefit from 10 to 20% magic penetration based on the target's current health. Max at 1,000 or less health. Min value at 2,500 or more health. Gain the max penetration if the target was recently affected by shields. Okay. So, again, this is still a good item. You can keep stacking magic penetration. If the enemy team has lots of shields, then, you know, mages typically always hated shields. If enemy had Karma, if enemy had lots of Sterix, if enemy had, you know, lots of shield bows or whatever on their team, it is very, very rough to play a mage in a world where you have very low AP numbers and you can't feel like you can't even get through the shields, right? Because you have to itemize utility. Now, one of the things that I will say, though, is that this item, you're not going to be necessarily going this over, well, I guess it depends, right? There might be situations actually where you do go this over void stuff, but there's not going to be situations where you go this as just a novelty item if your champion, again, needs utility items like Zanya's to be able to do things, or Banshee's Veil, or you just want to get Rabadon's Death Cap or something like that. So interestingly enough, it is going to be an item that does require you to think and assess the situation. And unfortunately, if anyone's been following the Lord Dominic's versus Collector series that I've been harping on about throughout Worlds, you know that that's already a little bit of a difficult situation. So, still a good item nonetheless. Cosmic Drive has been changed. 70 ability power, 250 health, 30 ability haste, 5% movement speed, okay? After damaging champions with 3 separate attacks or spells, gain 30% MS, decaying to 15%, and 5 ability haste every second until 20. So 4 seconds this lasts for until leaving combat. So, okay, so it caps at 20 ability haste, and then that's pretty much it. Okay, so you gain ability haste in combat, or maybe it's ability power. I don't totally know by the text, but basically they combined this and Conqueror plus Phase Rush. That's what Cosmic Drive actually is now, which means that, again, this is going likely towards a Bruiser user, rather than the LeBlanc or something like that we've been seeing it on a lot be extremely popular, or even Syndra or even Zoe. This is not going to be their items anymore. This is going to be like an AP Bruiser item. So that's where Cosmic Drive is headed. Okay. Horizon Focus. Now this is the exciting part, because dot champions like Brand and like Malzahar and other types of champions are getting a lot of love here. So Horizon Focus, 110 ability power, 150 health, now also includes slows to trigger Horizon Focus. Rylai's Crystal Scepter also works. It actually clarifies that. Okay, great. Demonic Embrace, 60 ability power, 450 health. Now, Horizon Focus has a lot of health as well. Demonic Embrace, 60 ability power, dealing ability damage, burns enemies for 2/1.2% max health magic damage per second, every second for 4 seconds. Convert 2% of your bonus health to ability power. So you're burning them a lot, you're getting very tanky, and you're having good AP numbers. So this is all totally fine, especially if you end up hitting a bonus health value of like 1,000 bonus health or something like that. Your AP numbers are going to be very good, and now you also get Horizon Focus triggering off of Rylai's. You have Demonic Embrace, you have Liandry's or something. Seraph's Embrace, 80 ability power, 860 mana, 250 health. Gain ability haste equal to 1.3% bonus mana. Restore health equal to 40% of mana spent on ability cast, up to 25 to 50 plus 10% ability power per cast. Toggles can restore the same amount per 1 second. So Ryze gets tanky. They're basically giving him back his shield as long as he's actually firing. So he can't just use it, stand still while he's on cooldown, absorb a lot of damage, and then he's fine. This is also massive for even someone like Cassiopeia. This is going to be absolutely big for Cassiopeia, who has been needing a lot of love because she was hit with the Seraph's Embrace shield removal. So this is very good for Cassio. Force of Nature, 350 health, 70 magic resist, 5% movement speed. Absorb. Taking magic damage from an enemy champion grants a stack of Steadfast, max 6. Enemy immobilizing effects grant an additional 2 stacks. Dissipate. While at 6 stacks of Steadfast, take 20% reduced magic damage and gain 10% increased movement speed. This is a beautiful anti-mage tank item. That is one of the departments that tanks have been lacking in, so this is very good that Riot made another item. The problem is, this is the only one that we're seeing so far. So let's get through the rest of the items and see what else there is in here. Knight's Vow, 400 health, 10 ability haste, 150% base health. Region, active, pledge. Designate an ally who is worth. Sacrifice. While your worthy ally is nearby, redirect 10% of the damage they take to you and heal for 8% of the damage dealt by your worth ally to champions. They have less than 30% health. The damage reduction is increased to 20%. That is awesome. Okay, that is very good. Okay, so Abyssal Mask, 400 health, 30 magic resist, 10 ability haste, unmake. Cursed nearby enemy champions reduce their magic resist. For each cursed enemy, gain 7 magic resist. So again, if you have the new mythic that is the offensive version, Abyssal Mask has obviously been changed here. Unmake no longer increases damage they take by 15%. Now, generally the champions that are going to be taking that, Leona immediately comes to mind. Amumu immediately comes to mind. Sejuani immediately can even come to mind or something, right? Obviously, you're looking to probably deal magic damage if you're having constant immobilizing abilities, right? Nautilus is another champion that immediately comes to mind. So how much magic resist are you reducing them by? Not really sure. But this also means that you're gaining access to not being as punished by having more ability, more AP damage in your team or magic damage, which is very cool. Okay, we move on to the final part. And that is the runes. Lethal Tempo. Gain attack speed for 7 seconds when striking at least one enemy champion with each attack. This effect stacks. While this effect is at its cap, also gain attack range and increase your attack cap to 3. Okay. Kog'Maw is going to love this. So many AD carries are going to... Kayle is going to love this rune. Kayle's gonna love this. At level 6 and at level 11, this is Kayle's new rune. Ooh. And, you know, everyone's a fan of Kayle. The other thing about Lethal Tempo, I mean, how much attack range is really the question, but this is massive for all of the already Lethal Tempo users. This is just outright a buff to the item, and this is a very nice change that is going to cause some diversity. And, I mean, if you, like, okay, Glacial Augment. Immobilizing an enemy champion will cause 3 glacial rays to emanate from them towards you and other nearby champions, creating frozen zones for a few seconds that slow enemies for 40% and reduce their damage by 15% against your allies, not including yourself. Okay, so this is a very supportive rune, which is very cool. So, okay, they did make another supportive rune, and now you can engage on an opponent, slow them by 40%, and tap a light kind of exhaust on them. This is a very cool rune that creates a little bit of diversity for engaged supports or engaged tanks that isn't just Aftershock or Grasp or Guardian. Okay. First Strike. Now, I was talking about this on my stream last night. No, not First Strike. Okay, I was not, doing that. But I was talking about Kleptomancy. That is very akin to this. Damaging an enemy champion with an attack or ability before they do so, or they deal damage to you, grants 5 gold and First Strike for 3 seconds, causing your attacks and abilities to deal 12% extra damage against champions and granting 100%, 70% for ranged units, of that damage dealt as gold. What is this rune? But also, what does that even mean? Do you just have to enter the brush, come out of the brush, and you can joust again? Because if this is the case, ranged champions are going to be real nuts. And if this is also the case, I assume that this is like Ezreal's new rune again? Because how do you... I don't even... Damaging an enemy champion and attacking their ability... I mean, it grants First Strike for 3 seconds. So then after you hit them, you have to keep hitting them to get the extra gold. So there are going to be a lot of champions that do utilize this pretty well. Right? Ezreal does come to mind. Misfortune is another one that comes to mind. She'll slow you with the Make It Rain and then just follow up, right? And Misfortune is a champion that is lacking in runes. If you guys have been watching Worlds, it's basically Comet or PTA. With this, she would gain gold access, and because all her items are really cheap, she'll curve faster or something. So there's a lot of creative options here with this. Obviously, Gangplank immediately does come to mind as a champion that is lacking in a rune, and this is just overall a pretty good rune. So that's it for all the current runes and items that Riot are dropping. Overall, I like it. I like all the things. I completely think that Divine Crownguard is not going to be utilized in the manner that they intended for it to be utilized. And this is some items. The problem is we want like 20 items. Riot should add more niche, super, super specific items that require skill expression or that require knowledge of the shop and itemization, path trees and everything to enable a form of skill expression. If you can actually have players that are really good at reading game states, reading enemy team composition, reading their own team composition, and doing very specific pivots with, a lot of items, suddenly that becomes really interesting. That's very fun to watch. Casters are probably going to hate it. They're going to have to learn a lot more new stuff. But overall, and the argument that, people are going to hate it because they have to learn, all this new stuff and yada, yada, yada. It's more so probably going to be hyper specific for like pro level, might cause some more issues with like balancing and stuff. But ultimately, I thought that's what the item shop rework was supposed to be. I thought the item shop rework was supposed to add skill expression into the shop by knowing how to itemize better, doing all of this cool stuff, but instead it stripped it actually from us, as this season was a lot easier to itemize. People are still making mistakes, but overall it's a lot easier to itemize now than it once was. And I just don't like that. I feel like it should be, Riot should add skill expression, and they definitely are going in the right direction with some of these runes and with some of these items. Now, this is not it for everything that is going on here. So let's take a look at some of the other stuff that is in here. We can take a look, obviously, at the Chemtech Dragon. You guys you already saw my video reacting to this. I'm a very big fan of the new dragons. I am all for stuff like this. Totally like it. And, you know, there's no new data. It's just we get some graphics for them. Now, one of the cool things is the Chemtech zones have come out. These zones are a little different from Cloud. They are a little bit different from Cloud Soul. But for the most part, I mean, they're relatively similar. And so because they're relatively similar, I mean, there's not too much to say. I would have liked to have maybe seen something influence River. I think that would be cool. But overall, these zones are pretty fine. The other thing is, obviously, the Chemtech Dragon. You know, they have their logos and stuff, and that's pretty nice. And then you have the Hextech Dragon, which also looks pretty cool. And then we can take a look, obviously, at the Hextech portals and where they are. So these are the portals, and these show you where they actually teleport you to. So the portals seem to just be like they're accelerating you pretty quickly across the map. Ultimately, that is what's going on. Now, I can see this playing a part in dragon dances and baron fights. Also, the speed at which you have to rush down a baron against, you know, champions coming out of base. These portals aren't as broken as they initially appeared. If I remembered correctly, I thought that they were around wolves or they were around raptors, and they were going to teleport you to enemy raptors, and there was going to be a lot more chaos going on. But you can see from these arrows, they actually seem a lot more toned down, and they're definitely much more balanced. These are just basically like blast cones on steroids. And that's the way that we should be looking at this. These are just super blast cones, and that's totally fine. It is going to add creativity, and I think that they're totally fine. No one should hate them. The raptors and other stuff ones that I think people initially saw, I don't know why they're gone. That makes me a little bit sad, but I really liked how those look, to be completely honest. Or maybe they're just cosmetics. I mean, we'll find out when the patch hits. All in all, I really like all of these changes. I am a big fan of them. I just want way more changes. And honestly, can Riot please give us skins? Can Riot please give us map skins? Look, I don't know how many people in the comments here. If you would like winter skins, ruined map skins, harrowing skins, Candyland skins, I don't NA world skins, because let's be honest, we're never getting those, right? So like a lot of skins would be definitely good for the map, and I feel like it would also help improve content creation as well as like streaming experiences, because a lot of people get kind of tired looking at the same Summoner's Rift map on every video. That's why those montage videos that use that like Silent Hill Fog of War and the different cosmetics and stuff, that's why they look really cool, and I'm just saying that, you know. But anyways, that's it for the changes. Hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to possibly breaking down more preseason stuff in the future. And that is pretty much all. So see you in the next one.